Thank you for tuning in to Roll Call. The movie you selected is Ice Age Continental Drift and Ice Age Collision Course.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Roll Call, the show where two childless millennials gush over movies and follow an actor's journey from their early years throughout their blockbuster hits.
Because let's face it, we still miss Blockbuster.
Yes, and like the meteors that were sent on a collision course for Earth, so it was written in history that Blockbuster would eventually get hit with the meteor that we now call Netflix.
That was good.
Thank you.
That might be top three.
Well, hustle, hustle your little worker ant ass is always going to be number one, I feel like.
Although you have an opportunity to remix that with Hustlers, so. What's up, everybody? I'm Bria. If you don't know by now, no, I'm kidding. Maybe this is the first episode you're listening to because you love Ice Age.
And God help you if you do.
Keep me humble, okay? But anyways, what's up? And maybe, just maybe, my existential crisis would feel better if we were headed towards another ice age instead of global warming. But I may never know.
Yeah, we may never know. Or we might, but you know, that's another existential crisis that we have to worry about on top of all the other existential crises that we're going through as a nation. And I'm Simone, even though there's really not much depth and heart and soul to these two movies that we are reviewing today. And please note that this is only for you, Miss Lopez. It was nice to take a break as an adult and just disassociate while I am at this same time, supposed to believe that these prehistoric animals can survive and thrive in their cartoon world. Did I continental Tokyo drift to sleep? Yes. But at least I forgot about the world's problems for an hour and a half.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I'm going to have to repost that by the time we release this episode. Little video snippet.
Yeah.
So in today's episode, we'll chat about no other than Jennifer Lopez because everything we do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And her voice acting in the 2012 and 2016 animated movies Ice Age Continental Drift and Ice Age Collision Course, which could also be Fast and the Furious movie titles.
They absolutely could. Yesterday, I went over to my parents' house and got the chance to talk about these movies at length with my sister. And she was like, hold up, are you sure that these aren't Fast and Furious movies?
Leah would know.
She would know, yeah.
I want an Ice Age Fast and Furious.
A reboot recast where all the animals are the same, but they're voiced by Vin Diesel and and Ludacris and The Rock.
Oh my God, no! All right, so Simone, let's take a trip back to July 2012 and June 2016.
All right, let's do it. So this is going to be just kind of blanketed pop culture. I will talk about, I know you covered a bit of 2012's pop culture in the last episode when we were talking about what to expect when you're expecting. Because as I was reading through it, I was like, oh, right, some of these have been said already. So I'm going to try not to be too repetitive. And then what I'm also going to plan on doing is talk about the movies that were released of the same month as each of these movies were released, and then also just the top songs of what was happening. So I'm going to do some blanketed pop culture, some box office competition, and then just like Billboard pop charts. Billboard bops and jams. Okay. Alrighty. So 2012 is an interesting year. And it's also funny, 2016, both 12 and 16 were election years. So I know you mentioned a little bit about that last week, how that was your first um, election that you got to vote in, which is really exciting. I am reading off of The Week, which is an online magazine, and it is an article called The 13 Biggest Pop Culture Moments of 2012. This was published on January 8th, 2015 by a writer named Scott Meslow. Number one, you might know a little bit more about this, Bria, just because you're a little bit more in touch, actually a lot more in touch with the basketball world than I am, but Linsanity takes over the NBA.
Oh, yes. Jeremy Lin was playing for the Knicks at that time. And I wasn't really following basketball that much at that time. But, I mean, how do you miss it besides? You miss it. But he was playing for the New York Knicks and he was doing really well. And it's a combination of his last name, Lin, and also kind of like when Vince Carter was like super duper poppin', Vinsanity. So, yeah. And Jeremy Lin is also from the Bay Area.
Ayo.
But yeah, and he's an Asian basketball player, Asian American. So that's kind of like a rarity in the NBA. So
yeah,
I think that helped a little bit with his buzz because it's like, what, this Asian kid's going off like in New York? And
yeah. And from what I read, it sounds like he just came out of nowhere and like dominated for a week's long stretch with averaging 25 points and 9 assists per game, which, I mean, you can tell me if is that good for sports?
Yeah, those are great averages and numbers. I'm pretty sure he probably wasn't a starter, so nobody really knew who he was, like in terms of people like a Steph Curry or LeBron, obviously. But I think maybe the Knicks had some injuries or something, and he was getting more playing time, and then he just was doing so well that everybody was paying attention to him, and it became like a phenomenon. like, and I mean, at this time, being viral is like all the rage. So
yes, yeah, as we were talking about Instagram rising to fame in 2012, and or maybe even a couple of years prior to that, but like really starting to hit its stride in 2012. So we have so many things that also went viral in that year. We probably talked a little bit about this last week, but our famous legend Whitney Houston dies at the age of 48 in February due to an overdose, which was a huge loss in the pop culture and singing community. The Encyclopedia Britannica decides to suspend its printed edition, which is the end of a 244-year-old institution.
Really?
So they started to only do like online versions of the Britannica from now on, which really started to seal this whole ideal of that print is dead, that journalism's dead, and just print in general.
Yeah. I don't think that's true, but I mean, at that time, you think the future, oh yeah, why do we need to print anything anymore? But I love a physical book or magazine. So.
Oh, me too. And as I'm like, we're 4 weeks into the new school year as a teacher, and I'm finding that there's each year there's a new skill that I feel like kids are losing. And one of those biggest skills is being able to alphabetize and to look up things in alphabetical order in either a dictionary or a encyclopedia or, whatever it is. And so it's like scary because those were, skills that were taught to us and ingrained in us. And even if I have to run the alphabet through my head, like I can still alphabetize things.
I'm going to put my stink face away because these children have grown up in a world where
they're going through enough. I know.
Away. So, I mean, I struggle with even basic things where I'm just like, let me search this real quick. So,
oh, totally.
That's how they grew up. Then that is understandable.
Yes. And it's not fair for us to judge because we were that last generation to like teeter between having a computer, not having a computer at the house, and like age before internet versus age after the internet, and just kind of being in the middle, according to Jimmy World about it. So
my gripe is always that I feel like they have so much at their hands. So there's some things it's like, you could have known that.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
But for sure. In movie news, I'm going to talk about one of these movies because it just so happened to be released the same month that Continental Drift was. So one of these movies I'm going to actually mention again because it was released in the same month as Continental Drift, but another big box office phenomenon that was happening in 2012 was the Avengers and The Dark Knight Rises square off for box office. So those were the two highest grossing films that year. And it's not the start of comic book fandom and DC versus Marvel, but it's definitely the midst. And not even the height, but we're taking off. We're clickety clacking up that roller coaster steep hill.
Atmosphere, like they're in outer space now.
It's like in the Animaniacs or in a cartoon where you see people going on a roller coaster and it like goes into space and then it's ready to shoot back down again. Which also kind of happens in Collision Course, but wow, that's a whole other conversation to talk about later. In addition, some of the other things that were happening in 2012, AMC's The Walking Dead smashes rating records. It's I think the highest grossing show and highest tuned in show, at least in terms of AMC goes. The AMC Walking Dead has always been a hit, but they pull in average of 10.9 million views during each episode premiere, which is pretty good. Disney also buys Lucasfilms in 2012, so Star Wars fans are beginning to be a little bit hesitant because they fear of the mouse takeover, but Disney fans also got to welcome in a new princess that year as well with Princess Leia. So it was I feel like Star Wars fans can now easily rest assured. They thought that Disney was going to drive that saga into the ground, but boy, oh boy.
I mean, now we have Galaxy's Edge and Star Wars hotels coming soon.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure they're like, this was a great decision. I knew this was going to work out all along. I wasn't one of those fans like bitching about it at all.
Oh yeah. Disney knew exactly what they were doing, and they've marketed it exactly to how it best suits their needs, which is making money, baby. In celebrity couples news, Tom-Cat breakup in 2012. Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes officially divorce.
Good for her.
Good
I just
for
finished
her.
Leah Remini's book on her leaving Scientology, which wasn't really necessary for me to. I listened to it on an audiobook, but I listened to her podcast and I watched her series on A&E, and so a lot of it I kind of knew. But man, was that situation like not the best.
It was
Tom
yikesy
Cruise.
for sure.
He's like oddly lauded in Scientology. Well, because he's like a big cash cow, but he is really put on a pedestal in Scientology, and that is probably one of many reasons why he was jumping on that couch to begin with, and also why Katie probably left.
Yeah. I like to think there's this famous picture of Nicole Kidman leaving the divorce room after divorcing Tom Hanks, and she just looks like so fucking
Tom
free.
Cruise?
Oh, did I
Tom
say Hanks?
Hanks.
Sorry. No one would dare leave Tom Hanks. I feel like he's been married with his wife forever.
I don't know how we got Chet Hanks though, but that's another thing.
Anyways, yeah, there's this infamous picture of Nicole Kidman leaving the divorce room with Tom Cruise, and she just looks like so fucking free. Her like arms are stretched out. She's soaking in this like beautiful vitamin D. The song probably like I'm coming home, I'm coming, and like that definitely is playing a la at the end of Made in Manhattan. Like she's feeling good. I would like to think that something similar happened to Katie Holmes, where she just could like, like have a
I'm gonna say her
cigarette and
song
just,
was
oh.
"If I Just Breathe." Every little thing between, I'll know everything is alright. Shout out to Michelle
Also,
Branch.
I'd like to take this opportunity to now transition to 2012's top songs of the year, because in addition to that song, I'd like to also think that Katie Holmes' big song was "What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger, Stand a Little
Oh,
Taller."
Kelly Clarkson.
That was a top song of the
Why does
year.
that feel older than that?
Probably because Kelly Clarkson in like the early mid aughts had a ton of other hits, but she
Yeah.
also like got pregnant and stepped away from singing for a minute and performing, and then she was doing judge stuff. But yeah, that was one of the top grossing songs of 2012. In addition, We Found Love in a Hopeless Place. We have I'm Sexy and I Know It by
Oh.
LMFAO. Set Fire to the Rain by Adele. A Part of Me by Katy Perry. We Are Young by the band Fun.
Tonight. That
Somos los jóvenes.
Have you seen those TikToks where it's like millennials in whatever year just
Yes.
living their best lives, and then it like cuts to like us now in the pandemic, like listening to like throwbacks from God, that was a special time.
From a time that was, yeah, so good. Gautier, somebody
Oh
that I
my-
used to know.
Oh my God, he came. Talk about one hit wonder. He
Yeah.
came and poof, like where is he now? Where?
Yes.
I would like to know.
Yes. Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen. We definitely talked about that last episode because she was like, her and Gangnam Style were like just two viral sensations.
Oh yeah.
Whistle by Flo Rida.
I don't remember how that goes.
Blow the whistle.
That
Oh, no,
was
no,
too
no,
short.
no, 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 no. Can you blow my whistle, baby? Whistle, baby. Let
Uh-huh.
me then. Ba, ba. Do, 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 do. Da, do, 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 do,
My
do.
favorite Flo Rida song was Sugar, not Sugar, Sugar, and also, obviously, Apple Bottom Jeans.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed. Never Getting Back Together by T Swift.
We are never, ever, ever getting back to... I don't know that I listened
Wee!
to that song in full, but I definitely know that part. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan.
I'm just surprised, like, even if you're not a fan, I feel like it would, like, listening to that song in its entirety would have been avoidable at that time.
Yes, because I stopped listening to the radio in college, and I would just listen to, like, music I had on my phone. So, not very in tune with the popular hits in that way of that time.
Gotcha. Well, I'd like to say with the preface that Taylor Swift and I are the same age. And so when she released, I think it was
Damn,
Red.
are you? Wow.
Yeah. That she was, well, she was technically born like December 89, but we're still the same age-ish.
Yeah.
So when she released the Red album, that was the one, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22. So for having that album that comes out the year you turn 22, I was like, nice.
I like Bad Blood was my jam because of somebody that we used to know. I like this song. I feel one with this song. So I don't hate Taylor Swift or anything. It's just like I do associate her with like the whitest white girls of Secaucus. So.
Well, listen, you can put me down as the whitest white girls of Secaucus Town, but
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I totally own
she
it.
is totally
like
the
she's
pumpkin spice latte of
she's
music.
a guilty pleasure, yeah, for sure. Well, maybe not even guilty at this point. I'm like, oh, why not?
And she's a talented songwriter. Like, I'm not shitting on her. I just think that, you know, sometimes you picture certain people listening to certain people, or you know certain people who listen to that, and you're just like,
So we have so many great things happening in 2012. We covered 2 movies of 2012, and I feel like there were some pop culture moments that we probably didn't bring up. And if you can think of anything, send us a message. Okay, so Ice Age Continental Drift was released in July 2012, July 13th to be exact. Here were some of the other box office competition. Well, Katy Perry was a box office competition to Ice Age Continental Drift. I feel like I'm not speaking clearly, but because the Katy Perry documentary Part of Me was released.
Oh, that, you know what? That is the start of like the Justin Bieber movie documentary and the Jonas
It's
Brothers.
My World, yeah.
And I think
We get Lady
Cyrus
Gaga.
just tons of like in theater documentaries. Like,
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, so that documentary fully discloses her divorce with Russell Brand. And that was another, besides the Tomcat divorce, the divorce with her and Russell Brand was like the second most watched celebrity divorce of that year.
I thought they were going to make it work.
I thought so too. Yeah.
And
I like them
Orlando
together.
Orlando Bloom. Like, I didn't have that on my Katy Perry bingo card. Like,
I didn't either. I would have seen Taylor Swift before Katy Perry, even though age-wise, I think there's kind of a bit of a gap there. But anyways, so in addition to Part of Me, we also have The Watch, which is a comedy about a neighborhood watch. Like a bunch of suburban dads get together once a week and like pretend that they're on a neighborhood watch, but really it's their time to like get together and have a dad's club. And then chaos ensues.
In the backup plan.
It's exactly like the walking group in the backup plan.
No,
what to expect when you're expecting.
Yeah. Getting our pregnancy J-Lo movies mixed up.
Step Up Revolution was another huge July box office hit. The Dark Knight Rises, which was the final installation of the Christopher Nolan Batman series. This is one where we get Bane and Catwoman.
Oh, I saw that in theaters, I think.
Nice.
For once, I saw in theaters, you guys.
Yeah, that was a great one. And then here's the last one that I'd like to mention for July of 2012 is The Amazing Spider-Man, starring Andrew Garfield. So this is the second installation of a Spider-Man series before we get to Tom Holland. Do you want to tell us about some box office stats for Continental Drift?
All right, so box office for I was going to say Tokyo Drift.
just go with it.
All right, so the budget for Ice Age Continental Drift was $95 million, which I'm like, wow. Especially for an animated movie.
And the fourth one in the animated series.
Yeah, in my mind, I would think animated movies are a little less expensive than, filming on sets and on locations and stuff like that. But also, the cast of this movie are some heavy hitting names, and it's the fourth movie, so you can only imagine that their price goes up. So
yeah, that's what blows my, that's what I was saying. That's what blows my mind, was that this isn't even the sequel or even the third in the series. Like, we're reviewing the fourth and fifth movies of these fucking Ice Age movies, so that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, so $95 million budget. So the gross profit in the United States and Canada is $161 million. And then opening weekend in US and Canada was $46.6 million. So pretty good, almost half of their budget in the opening weekend. And then worldwide, because clearly this is a phenomenon, having 4 or 5, I think 6 probably movies, $877 million.
Holy shit. Holy shit! Like total theatrical gross, or does that also include like DVD sales?
I don't know. That's just worldwide. Does that include DVD sales?
Oh my god! If that doesn't, that is really impressive. That's almost $1 billion.
My mind. Why there's 4, 5, 6 of them? That is why.
But like you and I watched it together. All right, so $880 billion. Anyways, all right. Let's keep going.
So let's fast forward to 2016.
Okay.
You're just still like...
Yeah, okay, all right. So
I'm
now
gonna look up how much Ice Age has made in total as a franchise.
Okay, yeah. Tell me after we do the box office for Collision Course. So we're going to skirt 4 years ahead of time. So Continental Drift. Gonna set our DeLorean to the year 2016 and travel back to the future with this one. So Continental Drift comes out in 2012. Collision Course comes out 4 years later in 2016. And there was a couple of box office mix-ups here. Like it just kept on. It originally had an initial release of June 23rd of 2016, but it kept on getting pushed back and back and back and back and back because they were so nervous about, I mean, I don't know why they would be nervous because it's clear that their movies are doing good. But they were getting nervous about the other movies that were in competition. So of the movies of June 2016 that they were worried about it competing with were Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. That's Zac Efron and Adam Devine. Tarzan, the live action Tarzan, The Legend of Tarzan. Independence Day, Resurgence, Conjuring 2, the Warcraft movie, Lights Out.
Did Kevin see that?
He did, and that's when I was living in China, so I was like kind of glad that I got out of watching. Gosh, Finding Dory with the mini attached to that is Piper.
I love Finding Dory. I saw that in theaters.
Yeah, nice.
Actually, I've been sleeping in it.
And yeah. And you went with Bad Blood, did you not?
Huh?
Did you go with Bad Blood to go see that?
Code name. No, I went with Jessica.
Oh, okay. You went with Good Blood. You went with Spicy Blood. Okay. Me Before You, and then Ninja Turtles. So those were the movies that were coming out in June of 2016. So they pushed it back. But then there was some other competition in July. Now, this movie ended up being released of July 15th. And then once again stalled to July 22nd. And so between July 15th and the 22nd, The Secret Life of Pets comes out, Purge, The Election Year, oh no, 4 females are remaking Ghostbusters. I'm an adult. The feminists are taking over. I'm an adult.
That was only 5 years ago, and I'm still like, some of these titles, I'm like, what? That came out?
Yeah. Lady Ghostbusters comes out, and then Star Trek Beyond.
Nice. I liked the Lady Ghostbusters. I wasn't mad at it.
I wasn't mad at it either.
That's how you reboot a franchise, all right?
And that's how you put a spin on it and make your environment more inclusive. Because guess who were the only people who fucking complained about the females Ghostbusters? White dudes. And they were like so angry and mansplaining about it that it's like, you wonder why women don't want to be in your culture and like want to share your cultural space with you, in your interests with you, because you don't make it into a warming, inclusive environment that like welcomes diversity and change. Like, Jesus. Anyways, whatever. Okay. It's still very true. But in addition to some of the great movies that were released, some of the top Billboard songs of July of 2016, One Dance by Drake.
Okay, hold the phone.
Okay.
Summer 2016 was Drake, okay?
It was.
He had a tour called Summer 2016 Tour. I went to that tour. Amazing. So it's right in the field. Sorry.
Can't Stop the Feeling by Justin Timberlake is dominating the song charts. Don't Let Me Down. We could just dance. That was like the Trolls song, right?
Yes.
Okay. We have Don't Let Me Down by the Chainsmokers. And I was living in China at this time, and my Chinese co-teacher, who's with me in my classroom, this was one of her favorite songs. She had like 5 English songs that were in her rotation, and it was 3 were Stevie Wonder, 1 was Three Little Birds by Bob Marley, and then the last one was this song by the Chainsmokers.
What
And
a
you can
collection.
I know, you could tell what kind of mood she was in if she was like, depending on the song. So if she was playing the Chainsmokers, Jada was like sad about something that day. That was her emo music.
Wow.
This Is What You Came For by Calvin Harris and Rihanna. Cheap Thrills by Sia featuring Sean Paul. Ride by 21 Pilots. Just Like Fire by Pink. Just kind of reading off general. Me Too by Meghan Trainor. Dangerous Woman by Ariana Grande. Work by Rihanna. Stressed Out by 21 Pilots is getting really big this year. But yeah, we also have a lot of Beyonce songs because Bria was Lemonade released in 2016.
Yes, it was.
So let's go over to some of those huge pop culture moments now that we've kind of covered some of the music. Number 1, according to the Harper's Bazaar list of 2016 in pop culture, number 1 goes to Lemonade. It felt like time stopped when Beyonce surprise dropped her self-titled visual album in 2013, and the semi-surprise release of Lemonade in 2016 felt like a huge torn in the fabric of the universe. So much more than an album, Lemonade comprised a 60-minute film and sparked a movement of celebrating hashtag Black Girl Magic in all of its forms.
Simone, do you remember what you were doing or like listening to it for the first time, watching the HBO special?
Oh my God. Well, okay, first of all, I had to secretly, this is when I had like a crazy amount of VPN software installed on my computer so I can stay in touch with the US pop culture. So when it was released to HBO, I watched it, but had to watch it in chunks because of just the unstable internet connection. But when that album dropped, that was one of the ones that I went to iTunes and was like, I'm paying for this. I'm going to buy it.
Absolutely. I also, that is why I got Tidal. I don't have Tidal anymore, but I was like, because I think it was only streaming on Tidal. And otherwise you had to purchase it, which not a problem, Beyonce. Take my money. I have the CD of Lemonade and I have the vinyl of Lemonade, so you can have it all. But man, that album is a little less of a surprise than the self-titled Beyonce album because she obviously dropped Formation first and performed it at the Super Bowl. But so people were definitely like, oh, Beyonce's like something's coming. But oh my God, it's such a cultural moment, especially in terms of the visuals and the multi-genre of it all. Like she's touching rock, she's touching country with daily lessons, like just such goodness. One of my favorite albums that has like a cohesive kind of story to it. And the bomb dropped around the world that basically confirmed that Jay-Z did in fact cheat on Queen Beyonce Giselle Knowles.
Yes.
And everyone also being like, oh, no wonder Solange fucked him up in that elevator.
Yes, because that follows the famous, of course, sometimes shit go down when there's $1 billion on an elevator.
Yes. So, love that album.
Yes. Honestly, Bria, I feel like this could be the only thing we talk about from 2016. Because
nothing else matters.
Well, one other thing mattered for me, for the Leonardo DiCaprio fans out there. Leo finally got his time to shine when he won his first ever Oscar for The Revenant for Best Actor.
Overdue.
So long overdue and such a fun moment. Bria, weren't you there? Did you come to my house to watch the Oscars with me that year?
No.
Okay. Because I know I had people over because it was one of those things of like, hey, I know I'm going to move to China, so come over and hang out with me kind of thing. So I know Julie was, anyways, it doesn't matter. But someone got it on film of like my reaction to him winning. And I was just like, we love you, baby. We love you.
What was I doing? I was probably working.
Well, yeah. Well, the Oscars are on a Sunday, but
Oh,
yeah.
well, hell, I was working in food service. I might have been working.
That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. In addition to those two things, Stranger Things, the season one, dropped in
Wow.
2016. And speaking of the Oscars, this was the hashtag Oscars So White
Mm.
controversy. Not
Still
even
so white.
controversy, but just like the facts were dropped and white people made it into a controversy versus it's like, no, actually this, understand, do better. Like, Jesus, it's not that hard, people. The movie Moonlight
I was gonna say,
came
was
out
that the
that
year
year.
Moonlight won?
Yes. So, well, Moonlight carried over to 2017. So it came out 2016, but it premiered in the 2017 Oscars. And
Mm.
that was also the La La Land controversy when they said that La La Land won.
Yeah.
But actually, it was Moonlight, you motherfuckers. So,
Oh
but
boy.
that movie was released in 2016. The Broadway sensation of Hamilton starts to storm over the world. The documentary 13th drops on Netflix and started to really kind of change the way that honest documentaries were being released and to what scope and lens. And I feel like 2016 was also being an extremely controversial election year for a lot of us. 2016 was kind of a year of reflection. Like I felt like people were really trying to reflect on things and to also wonder like how and why we got to this point, especially in politics.
I mean, yeah. I don't know about you, but election night, I came home from work and I just drank a whole bottle of wine and went to
Yeah.
bed.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Jesus.
Hopefully I wake up, maybe. Who cares?
Yes, I totally agreed. Yeah, I mean, and again, living in a foreign country during that time and such a polarizing election, and depending on how you look at it, either an extremely disappointing, scary, shocking outcome, or a joyous and celebration outcome. Like this was the first time I felt like the political spectrum had become so polarized and has continued to be so polarized. But I mean, I have to like explain to the people that I worked with who just like they're like, well, how I don't understand, like how can people be so upset when he was elected in, he was voted in, and having to like teach my Chinese coworkers about antiquated systems like electoral college and yada yada yada, but also having to like tread very lightly politically from them because
Yeah.
their political system's often different than ours. Anyways, I'm rambling at this point, but 2016, like leading up to November, or I guess leading up to like Halloween, felt like, all right, this has been like a nice, fun time, but now we're really biting our nails. And then, September, November happened, or hold on one second. October is in between September and November.
Yeah. All right, we've gone
anyways.
to a hellscape that we've escaped.
We've
And
escaped from, but baby, we're still climbing out of this hellhole rubble.
That
So,
is-
Bria,
2016 is like the year on the timeline in Back to the Future 2, where Biff gets the time machine and then
and Biff's
Marty
in the yeah,
and Marty goes back and he's like, "What the hell?" Like,
yeah.
and it's just
Biff's
chaos.
era is Trump's era. Bria, you are absolutely right.
We are still in that chaos. No one has gone back in the time machine to. We're trying, but yeah. Oh man.
And on that note, we're going to take a pause and go drink and cry for a minute. And we're back. So, Bria, now that we've had our just kidding. So, Bria, now that I feel like have excited ourselves about 2016 and have now since thoroughly bummed ourselves out about 2016, I would love to bring it back up. Can you please tell me at least Collision Course made it out?
Yes. Okay. So Collision Course was before everything collided, and
Thank God.
it came out that summer, and its budget was bumped up another $100 million.
Damn.
Or $10 million. Sorry. So it went from 95 million to 105 million.
Wow.
Budget, and then the gross for the US and Canada was 64 million, which is less than it was for Continental Drift. It was 161. Okay. And then opening weekend was 21 million, and also less than Continental Drift. So we are seeing this roller coaster come down a bit. Oh. And so the gross worldwide was $408 million.
Okay.
Which is halvesies of what it made.
Halvesies, but still surprisingly really high.
So, yeah. So, are you ready for the big total of all 5 Ice Age movies?
Yes. Okay, can I guess?
Yes, sure.
Okay, well, it's definitely over $1 billion. So, it's like, it's got to be, I'm going to say over 2.5 billion.
No.
What?
You were close. You were close with 3.
Ah, fuck.
If you went with 3. Worldwide, Ice Age, the whole shebang, all 5, has grossed $3.2 billion. Sorry. I'm not used to saying that many numbers. So.
I know.
$3.2 billion worldwide.
Wow. Yeah. That's pretty good. Pretty good, DreamWorks. Nicely done.
Numbers I will never see personally in my life. So.
No, but no need to bum us out further than we already did.
All right. Well, on this,
I'm ready for this ray of fucking sunshine, Lil Raj, to hear what he has to say, because this is going to be an interesting shift. Because we get one review with Lil Raj. And one review posthumously in a world after Roger Ebert dies.
Yes, AR 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So for Continental Drift, are we even guessing stars? I feel like you're gonna rate it lower, so I'm just gonna put it out there. For both of them, he gives them 2 stars, and I mean, there's no surprise there, really.
Wait, Little Raj reviewed Collision Course?
Oh, sorry. No, he didn't. But his website has a reviewed by another reviewer.
Okay.
And Wallace. I'm sorry, Susan, if I butchered your name. But Susan W. Reviews Collision Course, but it is on Roger Ebert's website.
Okay.
But,
all right. Both of them get 2 stars.
Yes. So
still generous.
I know, right? Considering. All right. So Continental Drift, Roger Ebert says basically, he doesn't think parents will enjoy it, especially after paying extra money for 3D, which you called out, and was huge gimmick at that time. Where are 3D movies now? Far and in between. I don't think I've seen a 3D movie in the last 2 years be advertised. Even longer than that, probably.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, but so this movie was definitely hinging on 3D tech and laughs and stuff, and you noticed some things looked like, was this supposed to be in 3D? Anyways, so he doesn't like the movie. We didn't really like the movie. It's pretty much the same. But one quote from that review that I pulled was pretty concise. Watching this film was a cheerless exercise for me. The characters are manic and idiotic. The dialogue is a rat-a-tat chatter. The action is entirely at the service of the 3D. And the movie depends on bright colors, lots of noise, and a few songs in between the whiplash moments. But then, I'm not a 10-year-old. For that matter...
You sassy bitch!
For that matter, I'm not a 6-year-old kid. I imagine 10-year-olds might think this was more for their younger siblings, which is like shade because he's like, not even 10-year-olds probably like this movie. And in 2012, I was in college. You were graduating college, right?
Mm.
So definitely not a movie intended for our age group. But as Disnerds, as fans of Disney, I feel like animation and as millennials, really, I feel like animation does not hinge on being a child. Animation can definitely cross generations.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that these movies don't do the best job at doing what Disney usually does really well, which is, making
Tell an actual story that makes sense.
that, but also making a movie that is enjoyable for adults as well as kids, and that you can definitely appreciate as you get older as well. Like, I'm curious for kids who were children at this time, like, if these movies hold up for them as they've gotten older, or if they're like, oh, I really liked this movie when I was a kid, but it's kind of dumb now. Like, so,
Yeah.
I mean, I have movies like that. Nostalgia is a bitch, so there's definitely movies I'd probably overhype that aren't that great, even as an adult, but there are some movies that I'm like, damn, this isn't as good as I remember. So, for Collision Course, Susan W. is the reviewer, and she somehow is connected to Roger Ebert's website, so her review is on their website. I don't know how they handled that after his death, but
Yeah.
But yeah, so Susan says, clearly the makers of the Ice Age series are running out of ideas for the main trio. They have to maintain the resonating, heartfelt premise. You don't have to be related or even the same species to be a family. That is primarily responsible for the previous 4 flicks grossing an astonishing $2.8 billion worldwide total. She also says, this plot is as disjointed as it sounds. You've got Scrat as a reluctant astronaut, a pending wedding, a possible apocalyptic disaster, visitors from another prehistoric era, and 60s-style flower children. It's almost as if the writers were simply using ideas left over from the other Ice Age scripts that are about as fresh as the wind beneath Sid's fleas. To quote one of the Sloth's pickup lines, it also is a signal that the concept's extinction date is about to expire. So we've got some pretty snappy reviews, and here's our unsolicited opinions. Simone, how many pumps of butter are you giving Tokyo Drift and Collision, You and I Collide?
You and I.
You got it.
That's it.
Even the best fall down sometime. Like these movies.
Ooh, and even the wrong words seem to rhyme. Like, how come J-Lo barely got any speaking lines, bro? Okay, all right.
Dark, you fall in time. Like Scrat in space. And somehow find you and I collide.
Oh my God.
That's going in the bloopers, probably.
That's going in the bloopers. It's going in our album. Because we're going to, all the like little jazzy songs that we come up with and sing. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. I would probably give this, combined between the two of them, I'm going to combine their scores and give this a 1. I'm going to give this a 1 little pump of butter. Now, I have in my reviews, I feel like going back and listening to each of these episodes, I'm not always consistent. Like sometimes I talk about popcorn sizes or like different kinds of popcorn, as if that makes sense. But I fell scam recently to an Instagram ad in that I bought this like series of popcorn called Oppo Pop, and it like comes with its own little like popcorn bowl and like ventilated thing, and then each pouch of kernels is like specially covered in whatever they're flavored with. So their whole thing is like your whole entire bag of popcorn is gonna taste like be really flavorful. So Oppo Pop had arrived on Friday, so I made popcorn before we watched that first movie together, and it was buttery. So that was the one good thing.
Do you eat no popcorn?
I like shoved it behind the scenes. I was so hungry. Because at that point, I had already had like a bottle of wine, so.
I saw that.
Okay, Bria, I give this a solid 1 pump. How many are you giving this?
Both together, man. I don't want to be mean, but okay, honestly, I would say 1.5 together. I do think Collision Course was a little more solid as a story than Continental Drift. So I enjoyed that one more. Also, a big problem for me is how little J-Lo is in it. So.
What was it? So I was like, I found myself being a little frustrated because I don't want to say I wasted my time watching these movies, but I watched them for the sake of the podcast. My life will be just fine if I never see them again. I mean, like Made in Manhattan's like way better than this, right? Like, and I even said that same comment about that movie. And like
say about Antz.
Say the same thing about Antz. And these are, well, no, I'd still watch this over Antz. I'm sorry.
I actually think Antz is a better movie than these. At least these two within this franchise. The original Ice Age, I think, is really good.
Yeah. No, it is really good. It is.
But...
And the second one is when the meltdown, like when the meteor, like when they're coming out of the Ice Age, right? So
the party has just gone on too long.
Agreed. The party has gone on too long. It's just too much. And that was my biggest beef, was that we take time to watch these movies that Jennifer Lopez is in, and she has like 2 speaking lines. Now in the Continental Drift, she had more dialogue because that's when her character Shira was introduced. She plays the lady saber-toothed tiger, counterpart to Dennis Leary's saber-toothed tiger. But she had more speaking time and singing time in Continental Drift, but by Collision Course, I mean, I think I counted she only had like 5 or 6 lines. It was really, really small. And so it's just like I watch these movies and I'm like, why? Anyways, sorry. That's no respect to you, Miss Lopez. We wish that you had that your character was big enough to run with the boys and like hold its own and with Manny and Sid and Dennis Leary.
Yeah. We might be getting into this early, but I mean, what else are we going to talk about with this movie since she doesn't have that much talking space? So maybe we talk about her for the little bit that we can talk about and then talk about the cast and the plot. So as far as J-Lo goes, I feel like that's the problem with this movie or this franchise at this point, is that the party's gone on too long and they haven't pivoted, and I think they needed to pivot. Like, as great as Manny is, and as Ellie is, and it was a great choice for them to have a kid, so then there's obviously more to come with their story. But at the same time, like, the fact that you introduce a character for Diego to fall in love with and you pay no attention to that actual love story, like, is criminal. They should have pivoted at this point. And instead of these unnecessary high stakes, unnecessary events that are occurring that they have to scramble to save the world or get back home, why not pivot to a love story again?
Agreed.
Obviously you can still have Manny and Ellie dealing with Peaches and her teen angst and all that stuff, but do they really need to Continental Drift for that to be remorseful? No. I think too, we were confused as to the motivations for the monkey played by Peter Dinklage, Captain Gut, as to why he was so hell-bent on making Manny and Sid and Diego's lives hell to get back home. All they wanted to do is get back home. That's it.
Yeah. And I was pretty drunk when I watched this movie, but I think that even if I wasn't, it still would have been so hard to follow, which is why I secretly pushed the summary on you, because to be honest, man, I can't describe the majority. I can describe bits and pieces of this movie, but I can't describe one solid storyline.
Okay, well,
start and finish.
That's a good segue to me to actually summarize these movies in case you two don't want to waste your time and watch either of these Ice Age sequels. Continental Drift basically is again, we open up with the squirrel Scrat, and he is chasing his nut.
He's the only one I'm rooting for at this point.
But at some point, it's like, aren't there other nuts out there? Like, why this one nut? And aren't you tired of... But evolution, he wasn't there yet, I guess. He did not evolve enough to be like, you know what? Pause. Fuck this nut.
For such a dumb character, he gets himself into some precocious and precarious situations.
Yes. But so we start out with the opening scene with him, per usual, as set standard in Ice Age movies. And basically, he jams the nut, I think, in the ice. This is a rated R podcast. He jams the acorn, I won't say nut anymore, the acorn into the ice, and then all this stuff happens that causes all the continents to separate, and then we get, you know, what we now know as, you know, the United States and stuff, and all this stuff happens, and
Pangea broke up.
Yes. And so all this stuff is happening, and it affects our crew, our herd of Manny, Sid, and Diego, as well as Manny's family, Ellie and Peaches, and surrounding peeps, in terms of like their wherever they are, which I'm not sure, are they in America or I don't know. But wherever they are, the land is shifting, it's breaking apart, all this stuff, and they, of course, conveniently wind up getting broken apart, where Manny, Sid, and Diego are on a chunk of ice, and Ellie and Peaches are on another mass of land. And so now we have our driving force of the story, which is that Manny must get back to his family, or the rest of his family, and of course, Sid and Diego are there as his sidekicks, friends, to help him journey back to his family. So, obviously, they're adrift to sea. A lot of hijinks in the water that they should not survive, but they're also cartoons. So, and then eventually they meet a pirate ship crew, where we also are introduced to Jennifer Lopez's character, Shira, who is also a tiger, and
her ears are pierced. She is a cool girl.
You want to talk about good-looking cartoons?
Like, they made her look fine.
Yeah, she's up there with the tiger from Zootopia, who knows how to treat a lady. But so we get to meet her and her gang of crew from the pirate ship. Captain Gut is very hell-bent on... It seems like they wanted to capture them to eat them, but, like, obviously they don't. And...
Right.
So it's like, what's the point, really, if they're not really trying to eat them? Like, I think you could have alluded to it. Like, The Lion King, they were never going to show hyenas actually eating lions or killing them like that. But, like, they definitely was like, Simba, I could eat you. Like,
yeah, for sure.
So that part is just like, well, if they're not going to eat them, why are they hell-bent on keeping them? And so, of course, Manny and them escape and all that stuff. And then they save Shira. And this is how she slowly kind of comes around a little bit to being on their side eventually, because she's still iffy. But she's with them for a good chunk, which... That would have been a great point too for her to see her and Diego's like relationship kind of develop, which I don't think we got enough of, because we also go back and forth between them, and then back and forth with Ellie and Peaches trying to make it with other animals who are migrating because of the shifting of the land and whatnot. But basically, all that stuff's happening back and forth, and they try to get back home. They wind up getting back home, and they're reunited, blah, blah, blah. And then Shira realizes she likes Diego and wants to stay. That's my best shot. I don't want to... There's so much, like, all over the place. That is the... straightforward this summary I can give.
Yeah.
And then collision course, Scrat in the intro scene somehow finds his way to a spaceship, and him and his acorn, and so he launches himself into space via spaceship, and we can now thank him for the solar system in some regards. And also in space, he of course has hijinks, but basically he winds up helping in many ways to have this asteroid plummet to Earth and possibly destroy the animals.
Mhm.
So Manny and everybody sees these things in the sky. They hit in the Earth and all that stuff, and they're like, oh shit. And they're like, well, we gotta go. We gotta move. We can't stay. And then they run into Buck, who's this weasel. I think he was in another Ice Age movie.
I think he was in this one that was like a 0.5 in between. There's one called like Dinos. Hold on. I had to look it up because they introduced him as if we knew who he was, and we didn't know who he was.
We didn't know, but the 10-year-olds probably
But
did.
the 10-year-olds did.
Oh,
He was
there's a
part of.
Ice
It's
Age-
Dawn of the Dinosaurs.
But then there's the Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild. Is that about him?
I think so, but it's like a separate one. So
Mhm.
there's the first Ice Age, and then there's Ice Age the Meltdown, and then there's Dawn of the Dinosaurs, which is before Continental Drift. So I think Buck was introduced in Dawn of the Dinosaurs.
Okay, yeah, because he's like in some prehistoric underground with dinosaur looking
Yeah.
animal bird things.
Yeah.
So we get introduced to him. He has discovered this prophecy of how to stop the asteroid, and basically that it keeps repeating history and it keeps hitting in the same spot. So he is now the leader of the pack, and they are going to try to stop the asteroid somehow, some way, which is such convoluted plot to put on some animals living in ice. Like, okay.
They put these animals through a lot of different kinds of scenarios. So I agree with that film critic who was like, this plot is just like leftover ideas on the table, and they just picked up some random pieces of paper and were like, this, and this. We're putting it all together.
Yeah. So they're trying to figure out or see where the asteroid's going to hit and all that stuff. And on that way there, they find this place that is like Geotopia and has all these hippie animals there. Sid finds someone who actually is in love with him right away, and then there's this llama, and basically they figure out the crystals will help them magnetize the asteroid. I don't know how the crystals helped, but they basically work to put the crystals in this volcano, and somehow that deters the asteroid from hitting Earth and saves everybody from dying a miserable death. Oh, also, main plot, Peaches is engaged,
Getting married.
and getting married, and of course, per dad movie trope, Manny doesn't think her fiance is good for her and thinks he's corny, doesn't like him, thinks he's a tryhard. And so the whole movie he's griping on like how annoying his daughter's fiance is. And yeah, and then Shira and Diego are kind of
They're
thinking
talking about having some cubs and kids, but then they're like, but kids are scared of us because they're big kitties.
But Susan points out, wouldn't their kids look like them? So their kids would be scary to other kids. Like, it doesn't fucking matter what mammoth child is scared of them, like, or a sloth baby.
Yeah.
Like, when you have your own kids, they are somewhat like, they're not going to be scared of you because you look like them. Like,
right.
So that's a stupid storyline that doesn't make sense.
Well, and also just given the fact that like these people who all live together never address, after the first movie, never address the fact that Diego is the clear predator of the group.
Yeah.
So even though that they have brought in new people, they probably have to do some kind of a reteach every time they bring in new people into the group to be like, yes, he's a saber-toothed tiger, but he's cool. So how do the people in their direct world, their little community of misfit animal species, how do they know the difference between a real saber-toothed tiger predator and Diego? Unless we're made to believe that besides Shira and Diego, there are no more saber-toothed tigers, that they're the last two, so they're gonna have to fuck to keep their species up.
No, they're not, because in Continental Drift, there are other saber-toothed tigers who are, like, chastising Diego about something, I forget.
Oh,
But,
okay. So that's just my big doozy of this community then, of like everyone. Diego is a predator to everyone that they hang out with. Yet they have to be like, it's cool, we know that you're not going to eat us, but our species are still probably being hunted by like the other saber-tooths that are in this area.
yeah, but it's like Lion King. Like, when Timon and Pumbaa find Simba, they're like, oh shit, it's a lion. Like,
But they
and
taught him how to be a vegetarian.
yeah, but can you imagine, like, and they were secluded, but, like, let's say for shits and gigs, like, other animals happenstance upon them, and they're like, are they hanging out with a lion? Like, or they just see Simba and they're like, oh, fuck me, I'm out of here. Like, and Timon and Pumbaa are like, wait, guys, no, he's part of our crew. Come back to the party. Like, I don't know. Like, so I think it's just like a cartoon animation suspension of disbelief. So I think it was poor taste of them to bring up that they're scary when they don't address that they are predators. Like, they should have just left that off the table.
Yeah.
Or like have other saber-toothed tigers come around, and Shira and Diego are like, hey, no, these are our homies. You don't hunt these animals. You can go hunt some other animals we don't care about, which is kind of like mean. But also,
go hunt
they
others in that
hunt
species.
other animals like Diego and Shira? Are they like, we're not gonna eat this possum, but we gonna find another possum? Like, or
see, that's why I think that they have to be like Simba, and they have to be vegetarian, vegan, pescatarian. Maybe they eat fish.
I mean, on the ship, they did have a shit ton of fruit. That was his bounty, was like fruit and shit. He's like, no, my bounty.
Yeah,
And so,
I mean, that makes sense for a monkey.
yeah, but Shira was on the ship. Maybe she had been.
Okay, so maybe they're like the vegan, fruitarian, saber-toothed tigers of the group.
Yeah,
Oh,
and then
okay.
Roger Ebert also pointed out, I believe in his review in Continental Drift, the only animal that tries to eat anybody is a fish. So, yeah, the whole
You're right.
hierarchy
I'm just gonna shut the fuck up.
it's all fucked up. All right. Can we talk about the rest of the cast who
Oh yeah. So if you have lived under a rock, there are some solid players in Ice Age, but throughout all of their sequels, they have acquired like more and more fun guest celebrities. So some of the main people that you're always going to see is Ray Romano as Manny, Dennis Leary as Diego, and John Luigazamo as Sid the Sloth. But over the years, we have seen celebrities like Jack Black, Queen Latifah, Alan Tudyk, Tara Strong, Cedric the Entertainer, Wanda Sykes, John Cusack, like just so many different people. Sean William Scott, Josh Peck, Adam Devine, Nicki Minaj, like it. Anyways, Drake. Yeah, the list just goes on.
And we can't forget
on.
Peaches, Keke Palmer.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes.
I will say that my favorite character who was like the only bright spot to me in these movies this far in was Wanda Sykes as the grandma.
Yeah.
Like everything she said made me laugh, which
Yeah.
is just par for the course for Wanda Sykes for me. I there's not anything I've seen her in that I was like, oh, she's not funny. Like she's funny in Monster-in-Law, which is like
Yeah.
crossover. Also crossover for J-Lo is Keke Palmer. Keke Palmer is in Hustlers.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see them work together again. There's probably more that I don't even really know, but also Jessie J is in Collision Course. She is Sid's love interest Brooke, the hippie sloth. But yeah, this is definitely a star-packed animated movie. It is not an animated movie full of voice actors who are only voice actor
every
famous.
single voice is very easily distinguishable, because when Bria and I were watching Continental Drift, we're like, Nicki Minaj and Drake? We were like, wow, like we were able to pick them up right away. So I think if anything, this movie's done some really great casting, because these voices are like, Ray Romano is Manny, is Tom Hanks is Woody.
Yeah.
You know, like these guys are their characters, and I think that they're going to be remembered. That, I mean, of course, with their other like long list and rap sheet of stuff, but in terms of animated world wise, I think that's one thing this movie did really well, is they just had really good casting.
I will say though, the difference to me between like those two movies is that I feel like most cartoon characters, obviously a voice actor will probably pass away at some point, and may that cartoon character live on. Somebody has to fill that spot. Plenty of people can do a Mickey Mouse, a Donald Duck, a Daffy Duck, a Bugs Bunny, impression, a SpongeBob. But can somebody really do a Manny impression because it's just Ray Romano, or an Ellie impression because it's just Queen Latifah? Like, it's just her voice.
They would have to be impersonators of those people.
Yeah, they're not really shewing their voice anyway. And I feel like at least Tom Hanks and Tim Allen do a little bit, like in Toy Story. Not Tom Hanks so much. Tim Allen definitely, like Buzz definitely has like a very deep, like,
yeah.
Yes, not a very casual Tim Allen voice, but
yeah, it is not Tim the Toolman Taylor.
Yes. So that's my only about comparing them like that. But other than that, yes, absolutely. Just like Mike Myers is Shrek, but I think someone else could voice Shrek if they really worked at it. It's not like pure just Mike Myers like voice. I also want to highlight that even within a cast that is voicing animated characters, there is great diversity in this cast, because
for sure,
Ray Romano is Ray Romano, and he is married to fucking Queen Latifah. And then, I mean, I would never put Dennis Leary with Jennifer Lopez, but here we are, like, so. And Keke Palmer playing Peaches, like, that's just, I just think it's amazing that, race and all that didn't play a factor in who they cast.
Yeah.
It's very diverse still, despite it shouldn't matter because it's an animated movie. So I like that they ran with that, like, and it was like, anybody could be anybody. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Anybody can be anybody. That's a good point. Well, I don't know, Bria. I feel like this might be on the shorter end of this episode. I mean, I know we haven't talked about interviews yet, there wasn't too much out there, but we can talk about interviews, and I don't know if it's fair to say if this is held up to any other roles, but
Yeah. Well, interviews, there were only like obvious press junkets for the movie. Who do you play? What's your character like? What's so great about doing an animated movie, which is, you get to roll up to work in your sweats and you don't have to look a certain way. I think this is an obvious choice for a lot of actors at certain points in their careers because of that. And also for parents who are actors, and Jennifer Lopez had young kids at this time, so it's probably a plus to do animated movies at this point. Also, I think Continental Drift was around the time she started American Idol. So there's some promos.
Yeah, she was doing a lot.
Yeah, but there's some promos for like both of them together, which was kind of cute and interesting, where all the Ice Age characters are calling her backstage at American Idol, and she's like, "This isn't Shira, like, I'll transfer you," and she's like, "This isn't Shira," like, and everybody's calling her to try to get American Idol tickets.
That's funny. Yeah, I must have missed that one.
Yeah, that was cute. But yeah, not a lot otherwise. She did talk about that she likes obviously playing strong female characters, and Shira is definitely a strong female character despite being animated. No?
I'm giving my like wishy-washy sideways hand motion, and like she's a strong character but just so underdeveloped.
Yeah. But I mean, she can't say that in the press junket.
I know.
But she talks about too, like, that it allows her to show like a sassier side of her that she doesn't often get to show, which I think that's true. Like, a lot of her movie choices as of around this time, you know, were rom-coms still, so she's very much still likable and sweet and stuff like that. And even in like her darker roles, she's someone you're rooting for. So not that she's like mean as Shira, but you know, she's got a smart little tiger tongue. And then that's the most of it. There is some footage of her like doing voice work, which is different from Antz. We didn't get to really see that. There's a picture of her, but that's all I was able to find. So that was cool to see her do that. Which, I mean, Shira too is just like her talking voice. It's probably a little more animated than usual, but
maybe like a little bit higher pitched, but I mean, still very recognizable as her voice.
Which, I mean, I think Jennifer Lopez looks very lioness in her features anyways,
definitely. So. And she was wearing a lot of like blue in her recording outfits and stuff, which just also went with like Shira's a gray saber-tooth tiger. She's like a gray and white, more like Arctic color, so blue just kind of went really well.
Yeah. There's this cute picture of them side by side, which I saved for when we promo this.
Yeah, that's the color. Yeah, it looks like, good.
You can see it. It's like, yeah, that is you. As anime, I see it.
That is you. I did have to laugh though, because one of the interviews where she was just talking about the movie in general, and the poster was like behind her, but like even she could not keep up with the plot. Like, she was just trying to like go through it and follow with the story, but you can tell that she's even like, wait, what the fuck? Like, she could not.
Hey, that check cleared.
I know. That's what that's why I just thought it was funny. I'm like, dude, even like the actress who was in this movie is having a hard time describing what the fuck is actually happening.
I wonder, can we find out how much she made? All right, so I can't find anything about how much she made from these movies, but I'm guessing it was enough to come back and do another one, and it's a cushy gig, so no qualms about why she did it. But JLo tried to do a Disney movie.
I know. Well, we have one more animated movie that she lent her voice in, and that's Home. But again, she's not the main character, because I think Rihanna was the main voice, or maybe she was the voice of the girl
in Home.
Yeah,
I didn't even know Rihanna did an animated movie.
I could be totally wrong. Either way, I think
she is in this movie. Wow.
But either way, I'm excited. I'm excited for, you know, closing off one more animated movie for JLo. But I do think that I would love to see her one time in a Pixar.
I would too, but I feel like Pixar and Disney don't do what DreamWorks does in terms of casting super, super famous celebrities kind of just based on name and popularity. I mean, they definitely have some famous ass people voicing characters, but I think it's not as much about like how many superstars can we get in this animated movie.
No, you're right.
So,
you're right.
I feel like you might have like the main couple characters be voiced by really famous, recognizable people, but other than that, you have a lot of solid voice actors who are trained in that regard, doing all the other characters and stuff. So, I'm just saying, like, if she had the opportunity to do a Disney thing, she would definitely have to be like a main character. Like, I don't think they would cast her as a tertiary character like Shira,
Right.
where she's there but not really. So, she could have been in Zootopia since Shakira. But Shakira only did the song, right?
She just did the song,
Okay.
which would still be a bop if J-Lo did it. But I can't not unhear it now that it's Shakira.
Would you want J-Lo to play a princess or something in a Disney movie? Or
I think, I don't mean this to any disrespect, but I don't think that she's of appropriate age group anymore to be playing a princess. But I could see her definitely being like a lead matronly role, whether that's like a mom or a godmother type of position, or, you know, like I don't know, just something where she gets enough screen time, but unless the main character is like an adult, then I don't think she could be like top billed for being voice acting for Disney. And I know that sounds ageist, and that again is like to no disrespect to Jennifer Lopez. It's
how the cookie crumbles.
How the cookie crumbles.
Or make her an inanimate object come to life, a la Toy Story. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like franchises that could possibly still be going on. Yeah, I don't know. No. Or no, wait, was that Cheech? That was Cheech, right?
That was Cheech.
My bad.
That's okay. That's okay.
All right. Well.
Maybe what if she was in like Secret Life of Pets and she was a really pretty dog, and then her counterpart is Pitbull, and he's a Pitbull, Miss Worldwide.
I did not like Secret Life of Pets, but yeah.
But it could be like the Lady and the Tramp situation where like she's a really high class bougie dog and she falls in love with Pitbull. It was a Pitbull.
I think they should remake. Oh, they're already remaking Lady and the Tramp.
Well, it was a live action, but it was the same kind of dogs. I felt like if you wanted to really reboot and breathe some life into this series, they should have chosen a Pitbull, because it's such
it needs to be redeemed,
and they need to be redeemed. Yeah, but I bet you Disney was too much of a pussy, and I bet you it was on the table, but they were like, no, we don't want to be too Pitbull forward because a lot of families are gonna complain.
Yeah, I could see her as you know what, by Home maybe we'll get, because she plays a person in Home, so
I think, yeah,
we'll get a good grasp. She's been animals twice. She's been an ant and a tiger. I think the tiger is more aligned with her as a person than the ant. But we've got a spectrum. So the next thing is for her to play something that shouldn't be talking. So they should make like an animated movie about dancing.
She could be like a dance instructor, but like a lot nicer of a dance instructor than from Shall We Dance.
Yes. I thought you were going to say than that lady from Dance Moms. But yes, both. All right. Obviously, these movies were not that thought-provoking for us, and we enjoy talking to each other, but we don't have anything of value to add for your listening ears. So
Agreed. Now, I do want to ask, just in case, because I did you have a snack and a movie, or snack and a cocktail for this movie?
No, I didn't. But thinking about the fruit from Captain Gut, I want those. Remember those candies? Are those Runts? No.
Yeah, that are all
Yes.
different shapes of fruit.
Yes. I want some of those. And then an icy is mad appropriate.
That's
And
mine.
You gotta sneak in a little bottle of alcohol, so
That's it.
adult icy it. And then just because this is how I think of drinks, I totally need like a glacier souvenir cup.
Ooh, or some of those glacier glowing ice cubes.
Oh yes, I love a glowy cube, which I have some, and I have no clue where they are. So
I have come to really love this part of the segment because I'm now always looking forward to like what souvenir cup would you make for it, because it is something
that should be my question. You should do the food and the drink, and then I'd just provide the cup.
Okay, and then I'd say something like, and Bria, what kind of cup am I pouring my cocktail into tonight?
Yes. And we're going to keep this just like we kept in when we started calling Roger Ebert Little Rod and figured that out. And the Would You Rather segment.
So, okay, I'll tell you my snack and cocktail, and then I do have a Would You Rather. Okay, my snack is roasted nuts, and I will just enjoy sneakily as Scrat can't get to his little acorn. I'm just gonna have my little bowl of like mixed nuts, maybe a nice slice of cheese. But for my alcohol, it is a frozen white cherry icy with a shot of
specific.
Well, I was like, okay, I could go with the blue icy. I'm going with like color schemes. Like, I don't think a red icy would be appropriate. No. I think anything that's going to be like bluish or white. So I'm going white cherry icy flavor, like the kind you can get at Target. And then to put a shot of either cherry vodka in there or vanilla vodka in there.
I would just go regular vodka. I feel like cherry would be too much cherry, and then vanilla and cherry aren't.
It'd be like cherry vanilla. The
like the ice cream.
Yeah, or my favorite Hanson soda is the cherry vanilla.
I don't think I've ever had that. Well, pop my cherry, and next time I come over, cherry vanilla it is.
Pop my cherry vanilla. Oh my god. Well, we're gonna make, I think next time, if you and I ever do a hotel day, or we do another
motel
holiday inn, and we're gonna get together and go through our drink mix, and maybe we'll make each other a drink from our recommendations. And
I definitely need a wet pussy from your mom had that drink. It wasn't a movie.
She did.
Drink,
Yes, she did. And she
maybe
just
that
recently...
could be your drink for hustlers.
Oh, there you go. Think I might.
But yeah, okay.
Between fuck, marry, kill, Manny, Diego, and Sid.
They're cartoon characters.
So?
Which, I mean, not to plug anybody, but we're obsessed. The podcast, they have an episode on hot cartoon characters that I'm dying to listen to. So,
oh, excellent.
It is possible for a cartoon character to just slightly be like,
I'm thinking, yes, I know they're cartoon animals, but it's not based off of their voice actors, because that's different. Then I would have asked you Ray Romano, Dennis Leary, or John Luigazamo, but I'm not asking you that, Bria. I'm asking you FMK, Manny, just based off of personality alone, Diego, or Sid.
I mean, okay, you kill Sid, okay? And then I feel like obviously Manny's the family man of the group, so why is that so funny? It's true. He's the domesticated one, so you marry him. He's typical husband material. And then you fuck Diego because he's the hot tiger. I don't know how I get suckered into these where I just feel shameful and remorseful that I pick these terrible options you give me.
it's just so funny. Your reasoning is, it's just funny because it's so straightforward. It's true. Manny's the family man. He really cares about his relationship with his wife and daughter, even though he forgot his wife's anniversary, which, like, come on, dude, y'all have been together for so long. And he's like too stereotypically overprotective of his daughter. But Manny is the family man. He's the wise choice to marry, even though you're basically married now to the Italian version of the little Jew man. I mean, it's like you're living inside of your head all the time. You're just gonna be hearing these kind of voice, but then it's just a little bit more gargly, and then you're just talking sounds like more like you constantly have some kind of an egg sandwich stuck in the back of your throat. And then you fuck Diego because he's cool.
Diego's got weed for sure.
He's got weed, and that Sid, get out of here.
Sid's got shrooms, and you don't. You're like, no, not today.
Not today.
I'm happy he did find somebody, though.
So briefly, but yes.
Yes. She was that algae, or eye algae, to, I don't know.
The wind beneath my fleas, the algae of my eye.
Yes.
Which, Bria, that was my original opening line today. I just like to say that you, Bria, are the wind beneath my fleas, the algae of my eye. I want to mate for life.
That is the biggest compliment and the sweetest thing anybody has said to me.
You're welcome.
And now I have it recorded for proof. Like, remember when you said I was the wind beneath your fleas? You remember that? Oh, you don't remember that, huh? Bring that up in couples podcast therapy.
You can't just say something like that and then put me through this. And also I just want to backtrack really quickly. When I had said sounds like Little Jew Man, obviously I meant Woody Allen.
And she's Jewish. So
yes,
she can
yes.
say that.
That doesn't necessarily excuse that kind of language and behavior, but I don't think anyone really gives a shit about Woody Allen anymore, and we're all kind of anti-Woody Allen, but that's what we have kind of nicknamed him in our family. But hey, all right, Bria, you wanna take me away?
All right, well, thank you for listening to this week's episode, and to the people who've stuck with us so far, please come back for another episode of the Great Value version of Inside the Actors Studio.
But seriously, if you do like us enough to stick around, take another deep dive down this IMDb rabbit hole with us as we discuss Jennifer's studio album, Love. And Bria's also going to give us her hot take on Jennifer's book called True Love.
And on that note, if you've got nothing better to do, go figure out a theme to watch a bunch of movies you've never seen.
I'm your host, Simone, and please subscribe to this blessed mess. Leave us a like if you're into it.
And I'm your host, Bria, and it would be awesome for you to wipe off those buttery popcorn fingers and give us a review. Follow us at Roll Call Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and my favorite, Twitter, because I am racking my fucking brain to keep up with social media content. And this has been another episode of
Roll Call and Cut.